If you've been feeling overwhelmed with anxiety lately, try listening to a guided meditation on the Meditation for Anxiety podcast. Meditation is a proven, natural way to help you calm down and dissolve stress so you can feel lighter and happier. So subscribe for free today to the Meditation for Anxiety podcast by searching for Meditation for Anxiety on your favorite podcast player.
This is Optimal Relationships Daily, episode 1845. Meeting my baby wasn't love at first sight, and that's okay, by Kimberly Zapata with Healthline.com. Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday, and welcome back for another parenting post with me, your host and narrator, Greg Audino. Now, if you're new to ORD, I read articles to you each day that can help you improve the relationships in your life, and Thursday and Friday shows are dedicated to parenting articles specifically. So, with that said, let's jump into this article today about postpartum depression, courtesy of the ever-informative and ever-popular Healthline.com, as we optimize your life. Meeting my baby wasn't love at first sight, and that's okay, by Kimberly Zapata with Healthline.com. From the moment I conceived my firstborn, I was enamored. I rubbed my expanding belly frequently, imagining what my daughter would look like and who she would be. I poked my midsection enthusiastically. I loved the way she responded to my touch, with a kick here and a jab there. And as she grew, so did my love for her. I couldn't wait to place her wet, wriggling body on my chest and see her face. But a strange thing happened when she was born, because instead of being consumed by emotions, I was void of them. I winced when I heard her wail. Initially, I chalked the numbness up to exhaustion. I had labored for 34 hours, during which time I was hooked up to monitors, drips, and meds. But even after a meal, a shower, and several short naps, things were off. My daughter felt like a stranger. I held her out of duty and obligation. I fed with contempt. Of course, I was ashamed by my response. Movies portray childbirth as beautiful, and many describe the mother-baby bond as all-encompassing and intense. For many, it's also instantaneous. At least it was for my husband. His eyes beamed the second he saw her. I could see his heart swell. But me? I felt nothing, and I was horrified. What was wrong with me? Had I screwed up? Was parenthood one big, massive mistake? Everyone assured me things would get better. You're a natural, they said. You're going to be a great mom. And I wanted to be. I spent 9 months longing for this little life, and here she was, happy, healthy, and perfect. So, I waited. I smiled through the pain as we walked the warm Brooklyn streets. I swallowed tears when strangers doted on my daughter in Walgreens, Stop and Shop, and the local coffee shop. And I rubbed her back when I held her. It seemed normal, like the right thing to do. But nothing changed. I was angry, ashamed, hesitant, ambivalent, and resentful. As the weather cooled, so did my heart, and I lingered in this state for weeks, until I broke, until I couldn't take any more. My feelings were all over the place. You see, when my daughter was 3 months old, I learned that I was suffering from postpartum depression. The signs were there. I was anxious and emotional. I cried heavy, heaving sobs when my husband left for work. The tears fell as he walked down the hallway, well before the deadbolt slid into place. I cried if I spilled a glass of water or if my coffee got cold. I cried if there were too many dishes or if my cat threw up. And I cried because I was crying. I cried most hours of most days. I was angry at my husband and myself, though the former was misplaced and the latter was misguided. I snapped at my husband because I was jealous, and I berated myself for being so distant and downtrodden. I couldn't understand why I was unable to pull myself together. I also questioned my maternal instincts constantly. I felt inadequate. I was a bad mom. The good news is I got help. I began therapy and medication and slowly emerged from the postpartum fog, though I still didn't feel anything toward my growing child. Her gummy grin failed to pierce my cold, dead heart. And I'm not alone. A 2018 study found that it's common for mothers to experience a gap between expectations and reality, and the sense of detachment from the child, resulting in guilt and shame. Catherine Stone, the creator of Postpartum Progress, expressed a similar sentiment after the birth of her son. Quote, "I loved him because he was mine, sure. I loved him because he was gorgeous, and I loved him because he was cute and sweet and tiny. I loved him because he was my son, and I had to love him, didn't I? I felt like I had to love him because if I didn't, who else would? But I became convinced I didn't love him enough, and there was something wrong with me. What's more, every new mother I spoke to would go on and on and on about how much they loved their child, and how easy it was, and how natural it felt to them. But for me, it hadn't happened overnight. So I was officially a horrible, nasty, selfish freak of a person." End quote. The good news is that eventually, motherhood clicked, for me and for Stone. It took a year, but one day I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, and felt joy. I heard her sweet laugh for the very first time, and from that moment on, things got better. My love for her grew. But parenthood takes time. Bonding takes time. And while we all want to experience love at first sight, your initial feelings don't matter, at least not in the long run. What matters is how you evolve and grow together. Because I promise you, love finds a way. It will sneak in. You just listened to the post titled, "Meeting My Baby Wasn't Love at First Sight, and That's Okay," by Kimberly Zapata with Healthline.com. Now, it's no secret that we are all busy these days, and sometimes we find ourselves with a bit too much on our plates. Well, luckily, one of our new sponsors is here to help you save time and in a healthy way. Introducing HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You can skip trips to the grocery store and instead count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And HelloFresh Market makes summer entertaining a cinch. Make your home the hangout place this summer with crowd-pleasing favorites like a backyard bratwurst bar or maybe a tangy key lime pie. Their fast and fresh recipes are ready in just 15 minutes or less, plus HelloFresh is 25% cheaper than takeout. And my favorite part would have to be that HelloFresh is actually an environmentally friendly choice too. They provide pre-portioned ingredients, which really helps to cut down on food waste. So, go to HelloFresh.com/optimal50 and use code optimal50 for 50% off plus free shipping. Go to HelloFresh.com/optimal50 and use code optimal50, that's 50, for 50% off plus free shipping. And a big thank you to Kimberly for this post and being willing to open up about going to places many mothers have gone to, yet not necessarily talked about. This is a really wonderful and honest account of postpartum depression. And while I'm sure this post might have provided solace to new moms who are currently going through something similar, I hope that that same comfort can be had by parents who are having these feelings towards kids that aren't babies anymore too. Postpartum depression is really laced with theatricality because it comes at a time when our excitement towards our children is expected to be at its highest. But parents might experience these feelings towards their kids later in life and feel a bit left behind. What of that resentment that creeps in later? What do we do with that? Surely that must be unacceptable since it isn't addressed as much, right? Well, trust that there are ebbs and flows all throughout your relationship timeline with your kids, just as there are in any facet of life. Though your recovery process will be unique to you and could potentially take some time and consist of some unexpected discoveries, the first step in healing will be the acceptance of these feelings. And the best support you can offer yourself consistently throughout this process is a lack of self-judgment. Your feelings are valid and they've occurred for a reason. To shame and doubt yourself while appearing sensible ultimately slows the process of you managing these feelings and developing healthier relationships. So keep that in mind, everyone. It's time to get going for now, but I'm so happy you came and joined for another episode today. You've done right by your relationships once again, and I thank you so much for that. Have a great day, contemplate this post, and be sure to come back for another parenting episode tomorrow, where your optimal life awaits.